Next up, we've got Ross DL. Ross describes himself as an artist, which he says covers a multitude of sins, and he's going to be talking to us about data.
Okay, good evening. I'm Ross DL, I'm an artist living in Liverpool, and I'm interested in what the internet looks like. A while ago I asked some school children in a primary school about what the internet looks like. Draw me the internet, and that slide was what they came up with. And then I realised my drawings of the internet didn't really say much more than that. And here's an example of some grown-up clip art that I don't think really says anything else either. So what does the internet look like? Well, on the whole, I think it probably looks like this most of the time. I guess people are aware of there's data centres around the world, managing data, keeping things secure, making sure everything's on all the time. And then I imagine the internet looks like this quite a lot. I was kind of amazed to find out how fragile it was. I don't know if anybody heard about the Spade hacker. It was a lady who was scavenging for copper, which has its own kind of dodgy implications, and she cut off Armenia's internet for 5 hours. And I guess the internet probably looks a lot like this at certain points. Lots of big tunnels. It kind of looks like a kind of sewer system, I kind of imagine. So I wanted to maybe try and unravel what that sewer system looks like, maybe try find out where my internet comes from. That's my Virgin broadband IP address, and I used this website to try and find out where that might be located. And I'm not sure, and I'm sure someone will correct me, but I think some of it comes from this building in the Innovation Park in Liverpool. But with these things, you can never really be sure. Now I'm waiting for the internet. Oh, yeah, and then the cloud. Well, I thought I'd kind of started to understand the internet, and this just seems to be like a marketing term to make something that's already a little bit vague even more vague and more confusing. But then I suppose the internet has been behaving like a cloud for quite a long time, so it's not really any kind of news. But what I do think about it is that although it's good in a way to think of the internet as this kind of utility, like water, that we all take for granted, on the other hand, you're not really sure where it comes from. Where do you fit into it? Who's providing it? Who's making sure it's on all the time? What does it cost? How many people might have to look for copper in Armenia to support it? So anyway, it's a complicated thing. And I found an artist on Google who I really liked called Aram Barthol. That's Aram with that giant place mark over there. And I kind of followed his work because he seems to be interested in what the internet could look like if it was in the real world as well. And then through doing a bit of research about him, I found a photograph where we're both in the same picture, even though I didn't know who he was. There he is, trying to visualize Second Life avatars in 2006. And now I've recently met Aram again. I'm working with him for his project called Dead Drops for the A.N.D festival, which opens on the 29th of September in Liverpool and in Preston next week. Dead Drops is not an art project, according to Aram. It's an anonymous, offline, peer-to-peer file sharing system. It's USB memory in holes in the wall, in bricks, in trees, just about anywhere you could think of. And although it's a bit of a silly project, I think it's also asking questions about where we put data, how can we get involved in storing it, and being responsible for our data. Here's one I made earlier in an opera house in Oslo, which is a bit highfalutin. So I suppose I was thinking, how can we make a sort of physical network in Liverpool that we could use to share data? I found a physical network. Some of you might have heard of it. It's quite extensive, as you can see from this Google map. It's called, didn't time that well, Greg's. It's got a kind of broad user base. People are aware of it. It's quite accessible. It's got a bit of a history to it. Doesn't really have any marketing problems. It's kind of got a clear identity. It's got spare walls. It's got a clear kind of service user agreement. We all agree that this may be food, but we know that it's not food. It's a sausage roll. But we agree to it and we're quite happy about it. So this is my idea for trying to uncloud your data and getting more involved with it. And also as an artist, instead of having to approach a gallery and ask them, please put my work on the wall, you can just drill holes in the wall and put your work inside it. So that's why I was drawn to Aaron's project. I really like it. I hope you do too. Please do get involved. Have a look on deaddrops.com to show how to do it, and dropdays.tumblr.com where you can work out how to do it. There's a session at Does Liverpool on Saturday. Please come along. That's my favourite dead drop. It's in the middle of the ocean. Thank you. Good night.